This is my People Bible reading, part 45, book of Genesis, chapter 22. We'll read here. Sometime later, Elohim tested Abraham, and he said to him, Abraham, and I love this. You start getting used to it when there's a conversation between Yahweh and someone. You hear this word, here I am, and Abraham's lineage on down as you pay attention to Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, Yaakov. They say the same thing. It's just some of the good stuff from your parents you give to your kids. It's not all the bad stuff. People pay so much attention to the negative side of everything. Son, do as I say, not as I do, stuff like that. there's some good habits. The good and the bad. And I take you right back to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That tree was good. It was a test. The Father wanted to see if you would hear and obey him. And there's only two people on the earth that the Father was concerned about in the beginning. Abraham, and that would be Adam and Eve. Now, we're saying this. There were a lot of people on the earth. They were not in the Garden of Eden. There were a lot of the people that Yahweh created. But life, the breath of life, again, we say this so you can understand it. That's where all those people come from. That's where Cain went to the cities. He built cities for the people because they were people. And he came from from Eve. We know Cain came from Eve. No problem with that. Do I have a problem with did Cain come from Adam? Fine. I don't have a problem with that. But also, no, not fine. Not fine. When the Nephilim came down, and besides what Hasatan did to the world, messed it up, because he very easily could have been in charge of so many things, being a bearer of truth, bearer of justice, bearer of life, bearer of light, is what I meant to say, and then lose that estate and become the adversary, Satan. His goal purpose is to screw up everything that is good. And when Adam and Eve when Adam was created, and Eve was created after that, through Adam, it was very good. And then Hasatan didn't like that. So that's where we get this, here I am. It's good that good things come from your mother and your father and you pass it on. The world, as typical as it is, always pay attention to the negative. So it says, sometime later, Elohim tested Abraham, and I've had many ministers tell me, the Father, God doesn't test people, Bruce. He doesn't. Well, what's he doing right here? Where do they get this? Google Ministries.com? .org? Verse 2, then Elohim said, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Now, pay attention to what I just read. Take your son, your only son, Isaac. He had another son, Ishmael. So why isn't Ishmael important? And it goes all the way down to the son, Yeshua. Did Yeshua come to save? I used to sing that song that Jesus came to save the whole world. He's got the whole world in his hands. Remember that? Oh, wide world. He saves all the beady babies. The Father's going to lose not one of his own. Not one of his sheep. None of them. Not one of his shepherds. Even if our bodies are destroyed, that has nothing to do with our souls. He's not going to lose a one. As we go through here and again, we go smack dab against the churches who call us, by the way, heretics. And I just say to many of them when they said that to me before, I'm a heretic? Excuse me? Am I the one that adds in false doctrines into my doctrines? Am I the one that puts in traditions of men into what is gospel? Or is it you? Are you the ones with have denominations? I don't have a denomination. You do. And you're the very one that says this. So what's your denomination? Are you Lutheran? And the reason I use that one's not to mock the Lutherans. It's just, come on now, have you ever been to a Lutheran church and that's what you hear all the time? Are you Lutheran? What's that got to do with it? I say, no, I'm saved by the blood of Jesus Christ. Oh, well, okay, we just want to tell you, if you would like to join our church, you have to go through a confirmation process, and you got to go to school and classes, and we'll have them for a series of weeks up to a month or two, and then you'll go through a confirmation, and then you'll be offered up to be a member. Okay? With a smile on their face. Not okay. Oh, ma'am, I've been baptized 6 times in 6 different church denominations. Does that count for anything? Here's all the paperwork. No, we don't know about them other denominations. We only know about ours. And this is why the Christian churches are simply falling apart today. They're just a disaster, and you know it. Okay. We comment here. Abraham had the faith to follow Yahweh's commands for a sacrifice because he knew what Moriah means. This is a classic example of digging deep and study to know what Yahweh's really saying. Most institutional churches teach that Abraham went to Moriah knowing that he would have to kill his son. No, Abraham went to Moriah because he knew Yahweh somehow would provide. So Abraham is getting to the point where he's saying, all right, Lord, you're telling me to do something that I know every single pagan religion out there does. They kill their families and kill their, they worship to Moloch, and you want me to do the same thing? Okay, but I know you won't. I know you will provide. That's what Abraham knew. He was righteous and faithful. That was the faithful part. He knows what this Yahweh is all about. It's better understanding that way. Abraham stayed in the Beersheba area for a period of time. That isn't always a good or bad thing. Some of you live in areas of the world you wish you hadn't lived to, and sometimes you hear about a certain church and certain organization 4 states away, and you decide you're going to pack up everything and go to that church, and that isn't always the right thing to do, because sometimes you get there and it's the wrong decision to have made. All I can say is pray about it before you go running from one location to the other to find the perfect church. Good luck with that. By the way, Sarah in chapter 23 lived to be a ripe old age of 127. Not quite as old as Abraham, though, lived to be. But we just mentioned, as we mentioned before, Sarah did her, and she was responsible for her walk in the Word. And she sometimes didn't respect Abraham's decisions or Abraham's walk. And when that happens, I always look and think, well, do these matriarchs die off before the patriarchs do? Because usually women outlive men. And the answer is almost in all of these, they die before the patriarch does. Just telling you. Let me read here verse 20 in chapter 22. Sometime later, Abraham was told, Milcah is also a mother. She has borne sons to your brother Nahor, Uz, the firstborn, Buz, his brother, Chemiel, the father of Amram. Sometimes it's just at the end of a chapter, sometimes they just stick in a bunch of words and sentences. You're thinking, what's that all about? when you read something and you think, I don't understand, that didn't tie into the chapter, the whole chapter that I just read. Why did the Father do this? Well, if you do a little bit of digging, the Father wants you to dig a little bit. He wants you to read his book, and he wants you to figure it out as much as you can and not spoon feed people. So who was this Milcah? Grandmother of Rebecca. That's where Rebecca ties in. And Rebecca ties into the next chapter in chapter 24 and on. So it becomes important to read this Bible and don't be a rush in it. I started putting this together and figuring it would take about 500 or 600 episodes of 15 minutes each just to go through it word by word by word. And the people that have already sent thumb drives to, so many thumb drives, they didn't send the thumb drives back. They kept I thought, well, I'll just keep filling them up for you, and you can get them free forever, and just postage, and I'll take care of all that. But I don't even get that back. So when you start spending a couple $100 a month on people, and the majority just kind of take advantage of it. So I went to YouTube on this, and now we're not reading every word for word, and we're asking you to read it. And I did create a Bible written. It's above you there, and then I'm reading right off of. It's very detailed. And I also created a thumb drive that's big enough in gigs to hold the entire recording that I did on audio. It's on audio, not video. And it was created though for the blind. And I have in my heart, I have a place for people who are blind that would like it, and I just want to make sure they didn't have to pay for anything. So it's something I can bear as far as that goes. Tithes, offerings, things I'm responsible for. So let me know, and you can always email me. I sometimes leave my email address on there to get a hold of me if you want certain things brought up that you didn't see that you thought were important. That's fantastic. I appreciate that. I love everyone that loves the Father the same as much as I do, and His Son, and is comforted in the Ruach HaKodesh. So we'll stop there at around 13 minutes, and the next one will be part 46, and we'll continue on. And I think we'll be going up for Genesis to about 55 parts, and then we're going to have a special introduction. I think it'll be part 5, 6, and that will be visuals that we use that I found and created, and some of them I found in the study to demonstrate for people who are visually oriented, and they need to see a picture of something while you're explaining it. We're going to do that in part 56, and that's just for you. Then we're going to do a number of those all the way through to the entire end of the Bible on special parts where it gets to, like, for instance, where is the, well, I got a good one coming up that a lot of people have asked is, how do you know that the temple ground today where the mosque is in Jerusalem, where that dome is located, is not the site where Solomon's temple was, where Herod's temple was, where Nehemiah's temple was? How do you know that that's not it? And we'll show you, do geographic and stria of the Earth's formations and stuff that still exist. And then some of the statements like the very earth of every stone will be removed and the earth will be tilled under, meaning tilled under. It says, well, does that mean what? Well, if you bulldoze something, it's tilled under. And just to kind of give you a hint, if you take a look at the southern Jerusalem today, just north of the old city of David and just south of the south wall of the Temple Mount, there's an area of land there that was tilled under. In fact, it's tilled under so bad it's a 4-lane highway. And is that where we're saying the temple was, so that there shouldn't be no fussing and fighting over the temple site today? Yes, that's what we're saying. And I think we can prove it, and we'll show you by pictures and videos later on. Okay? Bless you all.